Welcome back to the fourth and the final segment of this discussion on low-cost computing. With me here in the studio, I have Mr. Rodrigo Arboleda, Chairman and CEO of One Laptop Per Child Association in the US, and Mr. Satish Jha, Chairman of the One Laptop Per Child India Foundation, OLPC India Foundation. Mr. Rodrigo, what can this machine do? What can it really do, this low-cost machine that you're talking about, that can truly not just entertain, not just educate, but at the end of the day empower a poor person, a poor child?
Well, the most important thing of this particular vehicle, which is what we call the EXO, is that this is not a computer project. This is, again, a change of educational paradigm and also an equity participation in society. The most important element that we can provide is the user interface and the applications that come with the computer, the educational side, the pedagogical side. What we are striving to do is teach a child to learn how to learn. At the speed of the events that are coming because of the digital revolution, a child can learn at the speed that you cannot imagine or that we have never imagined until now.
I was looking at your presentation. आपने उदाहरण दे रहे थे, Satish ji. You were telling me how to pronounce words, how to pronounce particular alphabets, and how you can do it that much faster. You know, pronouncing a simple word like Q, yes, instead of saying Kwe. Can it be done? You know, I mean, he's given that example. Yes. आप जरा कहिए हिंदी में कहिए, what's happening in other parts of the world जो हमारे देश में अभी तक हम कर नहीं पाया? दुनिया में अलग अलग देश में कितने आगे बढ़ गए लोग और हम लोग क्यों नहीं बढ़ पा रहे?
आगे बढ़ने के लिए जहाँ जाना है उसका अंदाज़ होना चाहिए. अगर हमारे पास एक वो मिशन नहीं है, एक डेस्टिनेशन नहीं है, तो हम कहाँ पहुँचेंगे? आपने गाड़ी तो चला दी.
नहीं, आप कह रहे कि वो लक्ष्य का अभाव?
लक्ष्य का अभाव है. लक्ष्य का अभाव है. हम पैचवर्क करते हैं, हर चीज़ पे एक पैबंद लगा देते हैं, लेकिन कभी सोचते नहीं कि कैसे इस बात को ठीक तरह से सोचें, देखें कि किन चीज़ों से आगे बढ़ती है दुनिया और फिर वहाँ तक पहुँचे. हमारी सबसे बड़ी मुश्किल ये है कि हमने सिर्फ छोटे छोटे जो हैं पैचवर्क दुनिया से लिए हैं, उधार लिए हैं, खुद भी समझने की कोशिश नहीं की. उसका सबसे अच्छा उदाहरण ये है जब किसी ने कहा कि वो जो अभी शुरू हुआ ना वॉल स्ट्रीट में ऑक्यूपाई
के खिलाफ जो
ऑक्यूपाई स्ट्रीट हमने कहा, वहाँ भी हम पहल नहीं कर पाए. जब किसी ने कहा यस आई कैन, तो हमने कहना शुरू किया यस आई कैन. अरे ये तो तुम खुद कह सकते थे भाई, 80-50 साल पहले कह सकते यस आई कैन. तुमने पहले क्यों नहीं कहा? तुम क्यों सिर्फ हमेशा एक वो क्या कहते हैं इमिटेट करना चाहते हो?
Okay, you've been very successful, Mr. Rodrigo, in giving these machines free in countries like Uruguay and other Latin American countries, your own country, Colombia. Tell me, you've been to India, you're seeing the India situation. What are the most important lessons that we here in India we need to learn from the international experience? How do we adopt the best practices across the globe?
The best practice that you can adopt is to engage the whole living forces of a society into the project. The best places that we have been able to do it is when the public sector, the private sector, the NGOs in the academia become involved in the project. When everybody takes this as a project of a nation and not as a project of a government. It is very important that we identify. We go to many countries and ask, what is the most important resource of your country? And one say, well, we have oil, we have copper, we have grains. The children, not even the people.
The children.
The children is the important resource of your country.
No, and it's very important for India.
And we are not paying enough attention to the children.
We have 1.2 billion people. We are the second most populous country in the world. When you look at our demographic profile, we are going to become younger in the next 10 years.
You asked a very important question before, and I think it deserves the most thorough type of answer.
Okay.
India can not only become a very important way to solve the problem of the Indian children, you have a mandate and a duty and the possibility and the challenge to become a beacon of enlightenment to the rest of the world, as you have done for many thousand years before. And that is the great challenge of your nation. You are a very...
But Mr. Arboleda, you know, one section of the world is looking at India in terms of its computer software skills. Bangalore You know, bad word in America. They want, Mr. Obama wants to create jobs in Buffalo, not in Bangalore. But even then, when you look at the computer software, the information technology services, it's a very small proportion of our population, of our GDP. But it has a very high profile.
You need to create more people like Stephen Jobs of this world that are the creativity people, the creation, the innovation.
But Steve Jobs created Apple products which are high-end, very expensive, only the
But
elite
you could also
use.
do the same thing for low end. The creativity is not limited to high end. Is supposed to be used for the solution of problems of the masses that you perceive are there, and the masses in this particular side of the world are the poor people in the base of the pyramid. By empowering the children of the low base of the pyramid, you are not only contributing to your nation, but you are also contributing to create a new breed of children that will be able to accept the challenge of the 21st century.
Mr. Jha, your laptop is different. It was not designed in the US, not meant for the US citizen. It does not hog too much energy. It has to work in villages, not designed for office work, but for learning, for education, and making learning, as you say, fun. Please elaborate what you mean by this.
You see, children learn by playing, by experimenting, by constructing, by deconstructing. I didn't even know these theories when I realized if I have no fear of learning, I will learn and explore and find it adventurous. That spirit is very, very important. Please help create the spirit of adventure and curiosity in our children, and they will win the world. They'll create a new frontier. That's the basic spirit of education, learning. My son told me, Dad, education is what you want me to learn. Learning is what I want to learn. Let me learn. I think that's a great line.
Okay.
Let us help our children learn the way they want to learn. That requires something which is not available.
Okay.
Luckily, we created one laptop per child. It's a very, very important, I would say, is some kind of milestone.
All right.
In our evolution.
Okay, we have just a few minutes left for both of you to give your final comments, and I want you to look at the biggest challenge that lie ahead of you. When you look at the biggest constraints, the biggest problems, how do you really overcome them? If I ask you to look ahead, Mr. Rodrigo Arboleda, what are the biggest challenges that lie ahead? And how optimistic are you that these challenges can be overcome? Yes.
Well, by showing what we are doing, we are starting to break that vicious circle of lack of credibility of the people. The most important thing to do right now is to convince the politicians that there's one element, which is the sense of urgency, that is not in their minds to become a very central element of their minds. We need to create the sense of urgency because we have an epidemic. And we need to create...
What is that epidemic?
Ignorance.
Okay.
So we need to vaccinate everybody against ignorance, and this is a vehicle to obtain that
This
goal.
is the best inoculation.
Yes, that we have found until now. And we will be happy to adopt any other one that comes along, because we are not married to one solution. We are always looking for a better one, but until now we have not been able to find any better one. And
how is the world looking at India from this perspective? You know, we've seen this international economic recession. We've not seen the end of it. We are seeing social unrest across the developed world, in Europe and other parts of the world.
I think that people are looking at India with hope, because you have the capacity of enlightenment. You have a different vision about the world and about the cosmos. And I think that your vision that has come from your tradition could be a very helpful element in today's environment in creating a new society that looks for a
Are you as
enlightenment.
hopeful of them? We also have the world's largest population of the poor, the underprivileged, the diseased, the hungry, the malnourished. Huge inequalities of the kind which Latin America used to have, which Latin America has narrowed. This is also India. You know, shining India, suffering India. Satish Ji, how do you see the next few years?
It's such a doable thing. 20 million children entering school education every year, $6 billion addition for across the nation, with over a period of 5 years, will change this generation forever. India will change forever if they just take these 20 million children entering and today offer the solution we have available, instead of जो दूरबीन की जो गलत रास्ते से देखते हैं,
looking at the telescope from the wrong side.
Wrong side. That's what India is consistently doing, because it chooses what is easy and what's immediate over what's important and what's required to be done.
But what's important and what's required to be done is also difficult. It also requires, taking difficult decisions, politically difficult decisions. What are those challenges?
I would say, if you don't plan for your child for 5 years, you plan for child growing up for 20 years, please plan for 20 years, don't plan for 5 years. And then if you plan for 20 years, you will find this child growing up as a capable citizen of the world you will be proud of. That's if you just take one step, Mr. Prime Minister, today, tomorrow, whenever you have time, take one step.
Once again, you're going back to political will, political leadership. Is that it? Is political will what is lacking the most?
No, because other will is so difficult to create in everyone. That requires hundreds of years. But political will, it requires Gandhi's perspective. It's about freeing India from ignorance.
It's a vision thing, as they used to say.
150 years of Tagore's anniversary, birth anniversary.
It's a vision thing.
The mind is without fear.
This is the year perhaps we can take that message forward.
You have in November 11 of this year a day for education, and this is the golden opportunity to make it a reality, because it's a vision thing.
And I would say, don't talk right to education. Please talk right to quality and good education. If it's not good and quality, it's meaningless.
Yes.
Right to education will find meaning only by becoming good and quality education, and not otherwise.
Thank you, Mr. Satish Jha, for coming to the studio of Lok Sabha Television and giving us your views. Mr. Rodrigo Arboleda, thank you very much for sharing your experience, what's happening in different parts of the world.
Thank you, Paranjoy, so much.
Time alone can tell whether low-cost computing, that one laptop, will be available to each child when that gadget that he or she holds in his or her hand becomes a source of not just education and empowerment, but enlightenment and a better world. Thank you very much for being with us on this program.